Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am so excited to share the gorgeous Harvest Meadow Suite from the brand new Holiday Mini Catalog. Now, the official name of this catalog is the August-December Mini Catalog, but let's face it, it's easier to just say holiday, so that's what I'm going to call it. Now, this catalog just launched last Tuesday, and some of you may have been with me for my live launch party last Tuesday night. Lots of fun, and I did showcase this suite, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, and then we're going to make 3 projects using the products from this suite. So I hope you're excited. I hope you're ready to do a little crafting. I know some of you may be surprised to see me because last week I had said I was going to be away this week, and that was originally the plan. However, the weather here is not great. And going up to my parents' place where they have no air conditioning in 40-degree humidity just wasn't really sounding like something I wanted to do. Plus it's stormy and rainy and just not nice. So we've decided to postpone our trip by a few days. We're going to leave on the weekend and hopefully enjoy some much nicer weather. So I get to be here live with you tonight. So I hope you are ready to do some crafting. Let me pull my video up here. We'll see if my iPad is going to cooperate. I did a live in another group on Thursday of last week, and I couldn't see comments for a big chunk of the live, so I'm hoping this works. Okay, we got Debbie and Judy and Krista. Hi, Joanne. Hello, Christine from Belgium. Wow, you are a long way away. I hope things are good there in Belgium. Hi, Tamara. How are you? All right, so are we ready to flip the camera and do some stamping? Let me get to it. I'm going to flip. Just give me a sec, and then we'll get going here. Now my camera mount is looking a little on the droopy side, so we're going to see if we can perk it up a little bit and get it to stay where we want it. Hi, Judy from Wawa. How are you doing? All right. There we go. I think we're good. Hopefully we won't droop. All right. You're ready, Mavis? Awesome. Okay, so the Harvest Meadow Suite is absolutely stunning. Now, I did a post earlier today just asking which of the 12 bundles that new demonstrators get to choose to add to their starter kit during celebration you would choose for free. And the overwhelming majority chose the Nature's Harvest bundle. It is a beautiful bundle. In fact, it has been so popular. The dies are already on back order. Now, they're only back ordered until next week. So it's not like you're going to have to wait months and months to get them. But it is a gorgeous bundle and a gorgeous suite of products. So I'm going to show you some of the products. And then we're going to do some stamping. So let me get this out of the way. Oh, Mary, I'm glad you're here with me too. Oh, and thank you for the compliment on my hair. It feels so good to have it all cut off. Let me tell you, COVID hair was not my friend. I was very happy to say goodbye. They actually cut 11 inches off in total, so kind of crazy. All right, so let's talk the Nature's Harvest Suite. Harvest Meadow Suite. Nature's Harvest is the bundle. So of course we have this gorgeous stamp set, which we're going to use a lot today, and then these awesome dies. So we have dies that just cut shapes. We also have dies that cut out the stamped images, and then we have some awesome label shapes. This long narrow label is a really useful one. We don't have a lot that is that long, so this is a great label shape. So that's the bundle. As I said, these dies are currently on back order, but they are due back in stock next week. So if you haven't got these yet and you're dying to get them, you can still order them, and they won't ship probably until towards the end of next week. Okay, so that's the bundle. Then we have a gorgeous DSP. So this is actually 12 by 12 DSP. I've cut this down just for ease of maneuvering here. So one side has these beautiful sort of cool toned patterns. So we've got Crumb Cake, Misty Moonlight, Soft Succulent. Okay. And then when we flip them all over, we have warmer tones. So we've got Bumblebee, Calypso Coral, and then sort of a pattern that's kind of a combination of everything. Okay, so a beautiful pack of DSP. And then my very favorite product in this suite are the Cork Sheets. So this is specialty paper. You get two 12 by 12 sheets in the pack. It is super thin. So when I first saw this in the catalog, I was kind of skeptical. I was thinking like thick. A couple years ago, we had some cork embellishments that were quite thick. They were like almost 1/8 of an inch thick. And I did not want a whole sheet that was that thick. This is not anything like that. This is super thin. It's cut like razor thin and then adhered to like a craft paper backing. It's super flexible. It's not stiff. Die cuts beautifully and stamps beautifully. So we're going to be using this today on our first project, and you'll see me stamping on it, and it's amazing how well it stamps. So that's the Cork Specialty paper. And then we have the Timeworn Type embossing folder, which is part of the suite as well. Now, we're going to use this on one of the projects, so you'll actually see the pattern. It's really hard to see when it's just on the folder, but I'll show you an embossed piece of cardstock in a little bit. And then, of course, we have these awesome brush metallic adhesive-backed dots. I've already gone through 2 packs of these. I'm a little hooked on them. They are beautiful, and all the different metallics work so well with different color schemes. So the sort of brush bronze kind of work with cooler color schemes, and then the gold and the copper work with warmer ones. So just amazing, amazing products in this suite. All right, let's see who else has joined. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Leith. Oh, Sue's here, and Claire. Welcome, everyone. All right, so the first project we're going to make is this one. I posted this earlier today, and it's a super simple project, really. But I had a lot of questions from people asking me what the heck this stamp was, right? You look at it and you go, is it a mistake? What am I supposed to do with that? Well, Stampin' Up! Loves to include textural stamps in their stamp sets. And I think that's a Shelley Gardner influence, honestly. And I love playing with stamps like this and just playing around to see what kinds of effects I can get. So that is what I use to create my background on this. So I'm going to show you how I did it. It's so stinking easy. So I'm going to start with a piece of basic white cardstock. It's 4 by 5 1/4 inches. And then I'm using Bumblebee, Calypso Coral, and Cherry Cobbler ink. I have a piece of ribbon stuck to the bottom of my ink pad. That'll give you an idea of just how much of a disaster zone my craft room is right now. So Bumblebee, Calypso Coral, and Cherry Cobbler. I have my sort of blobby stamp here, and I'm going to work from light to dark. So anytime we want to blend ink colors like this, we always want to go from light to dark. Okay, and then there's kind of a secret at the end that I'm going to show you that is going to make it all come together. So I'm going to ink up my stamp with Bumblebee. I'm going to stamp off, and I'm just going to come across my page here. Now, I'm then going to flip my stamp because I don't want my images to look really uniform. I want it to look quite random. So I'm just going to come across here. And then I'm going to go over top again. I'm just laying down this layer of yellow. That's it. Super easy, right? All right. Hi, Gail from Halton Hills. How are you? All right. Next, I'm going to come in with my Calypso Coral. Now, the cool thing about this is because I'm going from light to dark, I don't necessarily have to clean my stamp in between. I'm going to stamp off some of the excess ink, but I don't need to clean it. So I'm going to, again, ink up, stamp off. And this time, I'm not going to go up quite as high because I want to see some of that pure yellow color in behind, or above rather, the coral. Okay, so again, I'm just going to come across here and gradually build up my color. Now, when I'm doing this kind of layering, I really do prefer to stamp off when I'm laying down my color. That's because I can gradually build up the color, and I feel like the colors blend a little better. If you do full strength, it's harder to get that sort of blend, because you see how I can still see some of the yellow through the coral there? You wouldn't get that if you were using it full strength. Okay. All right, so then I'm going to come in with my Cherry Cobbler. Hi, Debbie from North Carolina. How are you? Hi, Shannon. All right, so I'm going to ink up with Cherry Cobbler. Again, I'm going to stamp off. And this time, I'm only going to kind of do a single strip across the middle. I don't want to lay down too much of the red because again, I don't want to cover up the coral. I want to be able to see all 3 shades. Okay, now I am going to come back with my bumblebee. So this is the secret. When you're blending ink, I just do have to clean my stamp here because I don't want cherry cobbler in my bumblebee. That would be a bit of a mess. So the secret when you're blending ink is to come back in with your lightest shade at the end to pull your colors together. Okay, so I'm just going to extend this a little bit because I didn't go quite as wide as I did on my sample, and I do want to have my wheat sheaf silhouetted. Okay, so I'm just again going over with the yellow, the bumblebee, to blend those ink colors together. Okay, so easy. Like I actually was able to stamp and talk at the same time while I did that. That's how easy it is. Those of you who watch my videos know that I have a hard time stamping and talking at the same time. All right. So we're going to add a little bit more interest to our background with our thank you stamp. So this is from the Nature's Harvest stamp set. And I'm going to grab my espresso ink pad. And again, I'm going to start by stamping off. And I'm going to stamp a few thank yous. Now I am going to take a little bit more time with this because I do want to try and get my thank yous straight. It kind of bugs me when words are crooked. That's, I guess, the teacher in me. I don't know. Poor penmanship. I don't know. So I've done some stamped off. Then I'm going to add a couple that are full strength. And you're going to be amazed at how they pop against that background. It's amazing what a difference just the full strength versus the stamped off. Isn't that pretty? It's pretty just by itself. Now, while we have the espresso ink out, we are going to stamp our label. So this is just a stitched rectangle. It's cut from those amazing Cork Sheets. Okay. It die cuts like a dream. Like it's easier than cardstock because it's thinner. All right. It just cuts no problem. I'm going to ink up my thank you stamp, and I'm actually going to stamp this way because there's a bit more of a gap there. I'm going to stamp towards the left on my stitched rectangle. Now, important thing to note, when you are stamping on the cork, the ink does take quite a bit longer to dry. Normally, when you stamp on cardstock, it's dry pretty much instantly. The cork is going to take a little bit longer to dry. So there are a couple of things you can do. One is to set it aside and just leave it, let it dry. The other is to take your heat tool and set it up a little bit quicker if you're in a rush. We're not in a huge rush. We're just going to set that aside for a minute while we finish constructing the rest of our card. All right. So bringing back my background panel here, I have a beautiful... I know, Claire, the cork is gorgeous, eh? Did I study art in school? No, Debbie, I did not. I just love playing. So I do a lot of just playing around with color combinations and mixing colors and whatnot. I'm actually a horrible artist. Doing this kind of stuff makes me feel like I'm an artist, but I'm really not. That's why I like stamps. Somebody else does all the artwork for me. All right, so I have this beautiful wheat sheaf die cut. So this is cut using the Harvest dies. I've cut it from Early Espresso cardstock, and I've added some adhesive sheets on the back. All right, these things are a game changer when you are working with detailed die cuts. Now you do want to be gentle when you're peeling the backing off because these are pretty delicate die cuts. So we'll get rid of the backing. And then we're going to have this just kind of running up the right side of our background panel here. Okay, just like that. Now, I didn't run the adhesive sheets all the way down the length of this, so I'm just going to take and add just a touch of liquid glue to the back of this guy. This is going to get stuck down better once I put my rectangle on. I'm not really worried about it, but that one was kind of flopping around. All right. Let's add a little bit there too. Just a touch. Now you see why the adhesive sheets are so much better. You don't have to fuss with liquid glue and get your fingers all sticky. All right, so now we are going to adhere. Well, first of all, we're going to trim off our excess here. So I'm going to flip this over and grab my snips. And we're going to just take and snip off the excess from our die cut. Of course, I snipped off the part with the glue. That's okay. It will stick down later. All right, so we are going to add a mat behind our panel here. I like using the dark matte because it really makes the wheat sheaf pop. Okay, so this is cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and we are going to layer that behind our card front. So I'm just going to use a bit of liquid glue because I've already got it out, and we're going to layer that on our panel. Just get that nicely centered. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Oh, so pretty. All right, now we are going to add our label. Now I am just going to blot this just in case it's not quite dry. And yeah, you see it's not quite dry yet. It does dry eventually, but it does take a few minutes. Okay, now that I've blotted it, it should be fine. So we're going to add a couple of dimensionals to the back of our label here. So let's just go, where are we? 1 and 2. So we're going to layer that right across the bottom here. I should probably start with this straight so that I end up with my label straight. That would be a good idea. All right, then instead of cutting this off, I'm actually just going to wrap it around the back side. I kind of want it to look like it's hugging my card front. So I'm just going to take, because this paper is so amazingly flexible, the cork is fantastic. It just kind of wraps around and hugs my card front. Okay, now I'm ready to put that on my card base. So I have a 4 1/4 by 11 inch thick basic white card base. It's scored at 5 1/2 inches. So we're going to fold that in half along our score line and crisp that up, and then add a little bit of seal. Actually, this is Seal Plus. It doesn't really matter. And then we're going to pop this on to the front of our card, hopefully straight-ish. Because once it's on, with Seal Plus, once it's on, it's on. All right, and then the last little touch is to add some of these magical brushed metallic adhesive, whatever, dots. I don't know. I can never remember the names of stuff. So I use the copper because I feel like it works really well with the warm tones in our background. So I'm using the smaller ones, and these are just kind of on, whoopsie, that one's not very straight, on like little tacks, kind of holding our label on. Okay, isn't that cute? Super simple. Making that background, as you saw, is a breeze. You really can't screw it up, honestly. Even if you forgot to stamp off and did full strength, it doesn't really matter. There are so many ways to hide that. You just keep stamping. Just keep adding ink. Okay, so there is card number 1. Hope you like that simple one. Now let me clean up a little bit of my mess here so that I can make some room. And move on to number 2. Let's get rid of this. I think we'll get rid of our inky. Actually, you know what? I'll keep this one because we're going to do some stamping off on the next card too. Then I'll get rid of my messy grid paper. Okay, next one is this one. So again, we're using our splotchy stamp. This time, we're just going to create a subtle background for us to stamp our beautiful coneflowers on. Okay. All right. Yes, Louise, the cork paper is fantastic and it doesn't bleed. You are absolutely right. Actually, it stamps much nicer than the craft paper. I tried stamping on the craft paper and it bled like crazy. So don't recommend stamping on craft paper, but cork is amazing. All right. So for this one, we are going to use our little splotchy stamp, and we're going to stamp with Daffodil Delight and Old Olive. So I'm just going to stamp off the bumblebee. I don't really need to clean that. I know some of you are probably having a heart attack because I'm not cleaning my stamp, but it's okay, really. Okay, so I'm going to ink up with my Daffodil Delight. I'm going to stamp off. And similar to the way that we did on the last card, we are going to create a little bit of a background here. And I'm going over it in a couple of spots just because I want some spots to be a little bit darker just to add some interest. Okay, that's it. So simple. Then we are going to come in with our Old Olive and we're going to stamp off. And again, I'm going to pick up some Old Olive. We're going to stamp off our first generation, and then stamp on our card. So again, we're just kind of creating this sort of, I don't know, just a background or backdrop, I guess, for our coneflower image. Okay, that's it. So simple. All right, now we're gonna bring in this gorgeous image and we're gonna ink it up with some Early Espresso. So this is quite a large stamp. So whenever I'm inking large stamps, I tend to take the pad to the stamp rather than the other way around. That's just to make sure I get the entire image inked. And then I'm going to stamp my flowers. So I kind of want to stamp this so that most of the flowers are in the yellow and most of the leaves are in the green. Okay. Now I'm going to stamp this, and I think I'm going to have to add a little bit more yellow. Yeah, so I'm going to add a little bit more yellow here just so that that flower has a little bit of the yellow behind it. Now I do have to clean my stamp for this one because I'm going from green to yellow. So when you're going from dark to light, you do need to clean. When you're going from light to dark, you can just stamp off and get away with it. Okay? All right, so let's ink that up. Stamp off. Oh, there we go. So much better. Now we have a yellow flower. Okay? So easy, right? All right. So that is our beautiful background. I'm actually going to keep the Early Espresso out because we're going to stamp our sentiment. So I have a label here, die cut using the Tasteful Labels dies, my go-to dies for label cutting. And I have this lovely sentiment that says, a reminder to never forget how much you mean to me and so many others. Love that sentiment. So we're going to ink it up in Early Espresso and just stamp it in the middle of our label. And actually I should keep that out because I'm going to need it again. So then we're going to add, if you've watched me for any length of time, you know that I have a real issue with naked sentiments. So I always have to add a little something something behind my words on my sentiment labels. It just really bugs me when they're just plain. So I'm going to take my yellow splotchy stamp here, the one that I just inked up and added a little bit more to, and I'm going to just do a little bit of subtle color across my label. Okay, then I'm going to bring in this other flower stamps. These almost look like cornflowers to me. I don't know, I'm not a super gardener, so I don't know what they're called, but that's what they look like to me. They look like the blue ones that grow by the side of the road. So I'm going to stamp this off 1, 2, 3 times because I want it to be really, really light. I don't want it to compete with my sentiment. And then I'm just going to add just a little hint. Can you see that? Little hint of the floral image behind the sentiment. Okay, so it's really important to make sure that you are stamping really lightly, right? Because you don't want to take away from the sentiment. Okay, all right. You haven't tried stamping on either one, actually. Do I use StazOn? Oh, so the cork I just stamped with regular classic ink. Louise, you don't need to use StazOn. I haven't tried with StazOn on the craft. It may work better. The classic ink that I used on the craft ink bled like crazy. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so we're gonna add a little bit of ribbon because, you know, I didn't use any ribbon on the first card, so we have to use some on the second card. So this is the Bumblebee gingham ribbon that is one of my very favorites. So we're gonna add a glue dot here. And it's going to run, I don't know, about 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom of our, let me grab my ribbon scissors. Where are they? There they are. I was sniffly right, like literally 20 minutes before I was ready to go live. My allergies just hit. They just kicked in and my nose just started running. I started sneezing. I don't know what the heck happened, but I've been like sniffling and sneezing for the last, well, since 20 minutes before I started my live. All right, so we've got our ribbon on. Now we are going to add a mat. So this is exactly the same as we did on the last card. So this was 4 by 5 1/4 inches. So this one is 1/8 of an inch larger. So 4 1/8 by 5 1/8, or 5 3/8 rather. And we're gonna go ahead and glue that down onto our mat. So we'll just use a little touch of Seal Plus here. You do not need a lot of this adhesive. It is very strong. And we'll pop that on, hopefully with a fairly even border all the way around. Okay, and then I wanted to use craft for my card base. Now the challenge with the craft paper that's in the mini is that it's 6x6. So you can't get a full card base out of a 6x6 sheet of cardstock. So instead I cut a card front size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of craft, and then I adhered it to a piece of Mossy Meadow card base, so that from the front it looks like a craft card base, but then when you open it, you see the Mossy Meadow. Okay, so if you are like me and you love that sort of soft brown of the craft paper, that's one way to kind of get a sort of fake craft card base. Okay, all right, so we're gonna add our card front to our craft layer. So this again was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so 1/4 sheet of regular cardstock. And that gives us the look of a craft card base, but then we are going to adhere that to a Mossy Meadow card base. Okay, and we won't actually see the Mossy Meadow when the card is closed. So this is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So we'll just crisp that up. Hi Jill, how are you? How's the weather in Ohio? Is it hot and steamy there too? It is quite warm here. Well, it's downright hot, let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. It's gross. All right, let's layer this. Now I do have to stop talking and pay attention to what I'm doing because, as we know, I have a really hard time with talking and doing things, anything at the same time. All right, then we are going to add our sentiment label. We're going to pop it up with a couple dimensionals as soon as I find them. So we're going to do 4. I know this looks like overkill, but it is going to overlap my ribbon. So I want to make sure that it stays put and doesn't flop around with the ribbon. So this is not going to run centered. It's actually, I'm going to put it so that my ribbon kind of runs along the bottom part of my label here. That is so that I can add a little bow. Oh, Jill, I love fall weather. I absolutely do, but I am not rushing the summer away. I am not wishing it away. I am not ready for another year of COVID teaching. I gotta tell you. I'd be quite happy if summer just never ended and, you know, we just stayed in summer mode until COVID was no longer a thing and we could just go back to school and have everything be normal. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. So yeah. All right, so we're gonna add our little cute bow there, and there we go. Isn't that so easy and cute? Like, honestly, if you don't like coloring, this background stamp is your magic bullet because you can just stamp some splotches and stamp your image and you're done. All right, okay, that one is donezo. Let me clean up my mess here again. Get this out of the way. Get that out of the way. Get that out of the way. All right, I am gonna get rid of this grid paper because it is a bit of a mess right now. So we'll get rid of that too. Oh, actually, Stella loves summer. Our cats are crazy. They will lay out in this heat looking like they're dying. It makes them sleepy, right? So they just lay there half awake all day long. They live for the heat. I can't get them to come inside. They just lay on the deck and soak in the sun. I don't know. They're crazy. All right. So this is our last card. I posted this one yesterday. Again, really simple, not a whole lot to it, but that beautiful coneflower image when it's die cut like that is just stunning. So I'm going to show you how to do this one. So we're going to kind of build our card starting with our embossed background. So this is embossed, it's crumb cake cardstock, 4 by 5 1/4 inches, embossed using the Timeworn Type embossing folder. So this is the embossing folder I referenced earlier. It's a very subtle texture, so you can't read the words on this, okay? Like, don't sit here and try and read it. I do see the word harvest. I see forever happy, but you can't read this. It's not meant to be read. It's just meant to provide some really subtle texture, and it's quite beautiful. So that is our background. And then we have a piece of the gorgeous Harvest Meadow Designer Series paper. So this is a bumblebee pattern on the back. It's got that beautiful soft succulent script. And so this is cut to 3 by 4 inches. Okay, and then this one is Mossy Meadow. It's cut to 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. Now we have options here. So we can do our piece centered and straight on our card, or we can do what I did and do them offset. I personally prefer things to be a little cockeyed. Actually, I did it this way. I like the look of that. I feel like it's a little bit more interesting to look at. But I know some people don't like things that are off-centered and not symmetrical. So you could totally layer this, okay, and have a mat with this in the middle. But we are gonna live dangerously, and we're gonna do this a little bit cockeyed. Okay, so we're just going to glue these layers down flat. Again, I'm going to add a little bit of Seal Plus. So this one is going to kind of go this way, and because it's crooked, you don't have to worry about like trying to have equal borders or any of that stuff. I like crooked. Crooked is good, especially for those of us that have a little bit of a crooked eye. All right, so we're going to put that one on a little bit cockeyed that way. Okay, super easy. I forgot to bring my linen thread. It's over here. Hang on. There we go. So we are going to add a little bit of linen thread, sort of across where, sort of towards the bottom. All right, and I'm going to double it. I'm going to do my little trick where I'm saving thread. So we're going to add a glue dot on one side on the back, and we're going to press the end of our thread into the glue dot. I'm going to trim off my excess and then add it. Ooh, I'm almost out of glue dots. Oh, I have one left. That's perfect because I need it for my bow. Whew, that was close. All right, so we want to make sure our thread is relatively straight. Okay, again, it doesn't have to be perfect because everything else is crooked. So crooked can be a good thing. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and adhere this to our card base. So this is a piece of bumblebee cardstock. It's 4 1/4 by 11, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So again, we'll fold that in half along our score line. Hi, Judith. How are you doing? I'm sure your off-center cards look amazing. I'm sure they do. We are our own worst critics. At least that's what I found. There are cards that whoopsie. I'm taking off I gotta slow down. Slow down, Lena, slow down. See, this is what happens when I talk and work at the same time. I end up making a mess. All right, that should be enough. I'm gonna add just a little bit more here, I think. So with Seal Plus, when you are working with embossed cardstock, you gotta go slow. Okay, do you see how I pulled up the cardstock here rather than laying down adhesive? So that's just a warning with that adhesive. Just to take your time, and clearly I was not, so sorry about that. All right, so there we go. There is our background. Now we are going to add one of these gorgeous die cut branches. So this again is die cut from Early Espresso cardstock. I've used some adhesive sheets on the back. I tell you, these adhesive sheets are like, they're as important as Tombow and Seal to me. I cannot imagine working with these intricate die cuts without the adhesive sheets. Like it would drive me crazy having to apply glue to them. So if you have not tried them yet, you need to. You put the adhesive sheet on your cardstock before you run it through your die cutting machine. So you put your adhesive sheet on, lay your die on top, roll it through, done. Okay, cuts like a dream. All right, so then I have my beautiful coneflower image. I've already stamped and done a little bit of coloring because I know it's annoying to sit and watch somebody color. So I'm going to just finish coloring my last flower here. I have stamped this image in Early Espresso. Now, many people are under the impression that we can only use Memento black ink when coloring with Stampin' Blends, but that is not true. There are many, many of our ink colors that will remain color fast, meaning they don't run when used with the Stampin' Blends. Okay, so you are not kind of tied or stuck using only black when you're stamping. Okay, all right, and if you're not sure, just do a practice run, right? Stamp a little bit with the color that you want to use, and then try coloring. If it runs, then it's not going to work. If it doesn't, you're good. Okay. So I was using Dark Daffodil Delight to color the petals on my flower. And then I'm using bronze to color the center here. Now I find when I'm coloring these really beautifully detailed images, I don't find I do a lot of shading. I don't feel like it's necessary. Stampin' Up has done a lot of work adding all that detail to the flower. And I just find that it's just not necessary to add shading. Now I'm not sure what happened there. It looks like the color has faded a little bit. I don't know whether I got something on that after I colored it or what. So we're just gonna freshen up our color here a little bit and make that look a little better. There we go. Let's add a little bit more here to my flower. It looks like it's faded a little. I'm not sure why. All right, all better. Okay, so now, where's my card? We are going to add this, but we're gonna actually pop it up. So we're gonna use some dimensionals and mini dimensionals to pop this up. So I'm gonna add a large dimensional behind the two largest flowers. And then, oh, the branches from the Harvest dies, Jennifer, they're the same dies as I used to cut the coneflowers out. It's part of this suite. Yeah, it's a beautiful branch die cut. There are actually quite a few branch dies in the catalog if you really start hunting for them. Maybe I should do a scavenger hunt question. How many die sets have branch dies in them? I don't know the answer, so I can't ask the question, but there are quite a few. All right, so we're gonna tuck that in just behind our twine and stick it down. Okay, isn't that pretty? Oh, I love it. All right, so then we are going to do a little bit of stamping on some crumb cake cardstock. Again, it's kind of fun to stamp on something other than white for our labels. So I'm going to bring back my Early Espresso ink, and I'm going to use my Good Luck stamp. Now, this is a perfect card to give to, I don't know, a teacher that's starting a new school year in the middle of a pandemic. Great idea. All right. Just saying. All right, so we're gonna add this to our card. So I'm going to just put a little bit of tape where it's going to overlap my flowers, okay? And then I'm gonna put a dimensional here. So what I'm gonna do actually is just stick my dimensional directly down. Oh, look at that. I have a bit of adhesive sheet on this one, so I don't even need to put tape on there. So that will work just fine. That was a happy little accident. All right, so we're gonna pop this on. Now I'm gonna straighten my card out so that I can have a hope of getting my label straight. There we go. Okay, and then we're just gonna add a little double bow here. So again, I'm gonna bring back my linen thread. Okay, if you have watched my videos for any length of time, you know linen thread is like my go-to. I should really just keep a roll here on my desk for where I do my videos because I use it almost every week. It's just one of those things, especially for fall and masculine cards. It's just a really great bit of texture, and the neutral color it's really earthy and it's beautiful. And this stuff has been in the catalog forever. I remember when I first started stamping, I looked at it and went, oh, that's really ugly. Why would anybody want to use that on a card? Little did I know. I knew nothing when I started stamping. I thought I knew a lot, but I knew nothing. All right, I'm going to take my very last glue dot here. I'm going to roll it into a little glue booger and press the knot of my bow into that glue dot, and then we're just going to stick it right down sort of where the label meets the twine there. Okay, and it just gives the impression that it's wrapped and tied, right? It's kind of a cheater's way of tying a bow on a card. All right, let me clean up my mess here and bring back all of the projects so you can see them all together one more time. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed these projects. This bundle is just fantastic, I gotta say, and the stamps alone are just awesome. Now I am gonna mention my virtual class for September is this stamp set, the Nature's Harvest stamp set. So the details on that are posted on my blog. I will post a link also in the description of the video afterwards so that you can see, and if you're interested, register for that class. There's a couple of options, one that includes the stamp set and one that is just the kits. Okay, but it is a live Zoom class for anyone in Canada. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me this week. Now, I have to tell you, next week, for the next 2 weeks, I never do this, okay? I am going on sabbatical. I'm calling it a sabbatical because if I do that, I might actually take it seriously and not work. So my husband and I have decided that I need a break. I have been going nonstop all school year and then all summer with my Stampin' Up business. So I need to take 2 weeks and do nothing. So we're going to see how this goes. For those who know me, you know I'm a little bit of a workaholic, so this is going to be hard for me. But I'm going to do my darndest to take a true break. So there will be no lives next week or the week after. I'll be posting. I'm going to pre-schedule a bunch of stuff, but there will be no videos for the next 2 weeks. Okay, now I hope you don't forget about me while I'm gone, and I hope you come back when I come back in the last week, or I think it's the 31st maybe of August, that I will be back. But I really just need this time away to kind of refresh and reset before another crazy school year. So thanks so much for joining me this week. Thanks so much for joining me this week. Have a great evening, and I will see you back here on August 31st. Bye, everybody.